Welcome back to Project 613. Today we continue learning the Torah's list of forbidden relationships, and we are going to learn the next 5 on the list. Number 1, we have the Torah's prohibition against incest with one's own daughter. And believe it or not, we know that this is forbidden even without there being an explicit verse stating so. Rather, we know this is forbidden applying a logical principle known as kal vachomer, which means that if something is told to us in an extreme case, certainly we can deduce using our own logic that in a less extreme case, the same prohibition would apply. And if you remember, we already learned that incest with one's granddaughter is forbidden. So if incest with one's granddaughter is forbidden, then certainly with one's daughter would be forbidden. And that's the first mitzvah we learned today. The second is the prohibition against incest with one's granddaughter, but here we're talking about one's daughter's daughter, whereas previously, yesterday, we learned about the prohibition of incest with one's son's daughter, and here we have a separate prohibition against incest with one's daughter's daughter, as the Torah says, et bat bita. The third prohibition we learned today is against incest with one's wife's mother, so with one's mother-in-law, or with one's wife's daughter, even if it's not his own daughter. The idea is being in a relationship with a woman and her daughter at the same time. This is forbidden. The fourth is the prohibition against incest with one's wife's granddaughter, the daughter of her son. And the fifth is the prohibition against incest with one's wife's granddaughter, the daughter of her daughter. Now, this list of forbidden relationships is read every year in the Torah on Yom Kippur. On the holiest day of the year, on Yom Kippur afternoon, at the Mincha prayer, this is the portion of the Torah that's read in the synagogue. And of course the question is always asked, why is it that on the holiest day of the year, when we're coming to synagogue and praying, we're all so holy, compared to angels, is this the time that we should read about this type of subject? Couldn't we find a more appropriate, more spiritual, more uplifting Torah reading? But the truth is that in addition to the simple explanations that are given for this, which is that it's in order to encourage even someone who has violated these sins, that even they are able to return, and even they are encouraged to do teshuvah and to mend their ways, there is a much deeper message over here. And that is that ultimately, the ultimate test of a Jew is not how he will behave in the synagogue, is not if he'll show commitment when in a Jewish environment, but rather how he will behave in his bedroom. And that is the truest display of a Jew's commitment to Hashem, that even behind closed doors, when no one else is there, even in that type of atmosphere, he will remain committed to the ways of the Torah. And that's why there could not be a more appropriate time to read this portion than on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, when we recommit and reaffirm our commitment to Hashem and to following His ways. We make it clear that the truest way to show this commitment is not so much about how we will behave in the synagogue or in a positive, holy environment, but rather when we go home, when no one is looking. If even over there we will follow the ways of the Torah, that's how we know that Yom Kippur really had its desired effect. Have a wonderful day, and we will continue with additional mitzvot on this list tomorrow.